Hello and welcome to the agenda on Politics Social. Sorry then, I realised that Phil's mic wasn't on and the scrolling text behind us has gone absolutely bonkers. So let's just turn that off for the moment. Hello and welcome to the show. Obviously, I've not done this from home for a little while. So Phil, how you doing? You all right?
I am all right. Yeah, so hold on. Sam, there we go. Yes.
There we go. Let's see. So I'm joined as always by Phil Moorhouse of A Different Buyer's fame, and I am Graham Hughes. And I don't know why my background thing isn't working. I will try and work on that as we talk. Hopefully we are going out loud and clear in glorious 4K. So we're going to be talking about the Labour Party conference this year. I was there. Phil was almost there.
I was in the right city. So I went all the way to Liverpool to specifically not go to the conference. That sounds really rude, but just how it worked out.
So it's, this is I found it like quite different from last year. Last year it felt like a wake, like everyone seemed really miserable, and this year it was a little bit more upbeat. A little bit.
Well, there's more stuff, I suppose, coming out. But last year, what they did, I mean, they won the election, and actually their popularity went up over the couple of weeks after the election because, they were talking about all the stuff they were going to do, and they were, bringing people in, and it was very upbeat. And I thought, this is good. And then they had the riots. Okay, that couldn't be helped. And then after that, they turned into, the economy, it's proper boned, it's shit. I don't know what we can do about it. And it's like, what? What are you doing? And I could see it in real terms. I always say it's not, I'm not claiming to have a finger on the pulse of the economy, but I do sort of I'm never really surprised when consumer confidence or, consumer spending comes out, let's put it that way, because I get my revenue from like ad revenue. And so when the rate goes up, it means people are spending a bit better. When it goes down, it means, and if they're spending, the rates crashed. And I'm not going to put it all down on the fact that they were shit talking the economy, but I think a large part of it was. Yeah. The thing is, they just boosted people's incomes. Like public sector pay went up significantly above inflation. Pensions was going up above, which it often does anyway because of the triple lock, but it was going up above inflation. Benefits was going up above inflation, even some benefits. The minimum wage was going up. There was a big boost to the minimum wage. So obviously that didn't happen until like the following April. But nonetheless, all of that stuff was coming out and that was positive.
Yeah.
And then they started talking about this. And they were giving the impression that, and it's because they had this strategy of wanting voters to factor in that the economy would get worse before it gets better. And it's like, no, voters are sick of this. You need to be constantly talking up the economy.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what some of the financial news is talking about is the fact that people are increasingly saving now. Those who can afford to save are saving. And they don't really need to because the economy, like the markers are doing better. But it's that lack of confidence. You need to give people confidence to spend.
Yeah.
And they're not.
Yeah. So before we go on, I just want to say hi to everyone in the chat. There's someone called A Different Bias in there. I don't know who that is. There's also Graham Haller and Vendetta and Victoria Townsend and MZ and Martin Harrow, blah, blah, CW and others. Hello, everyone. Jane Lockwood is in there as well and Sid. If you'd like to join our friends in the chat there, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button and you wait for 1 minute and then you'll be able to join them. But don't be a troll. Because we will mute you and boot you. So, go be a troll somewhere else. Okay, so yeah, I felt it was a bit more upbeat this year than last year. Yes, like last year, as you said, it was all doom and gloom. So they seem to be slowly turning in the right direction, ever so slowly. And there's news out this week that they are going to scrap the 2-child benefit cap.
They didn't. We knew about that. We've known about that for months. It's one of those things. Do you know what it is?
When you say we, who do you mean by we, Phil? Do you just mean you, don't you? You have known for months.
Off the record briefings. It's exactly the same as the youth mobility thing. When in August 2024, they said, yeah, we're going to agree to this.
Yep.
And then for months afterwards, they're not doing it. They should do it. They're not doing it. And I kept saying to the guys, focus on something else. focus on something like, I don't know, like the customs union or something, because they've already said they're going to do it. They just haven't officially announced it. And this was exactly the same.
Whether it was a few months ago or whether it was this week, it doesn't matter. It should have been last year. It should have been the first big budget.
It should have been, yeah.
And it could have been a big singing and dancing, hey, we're going to get rid of the cap. And loads of people who voted for Labour will have felt vindicated for voting for Labour. Whereas the opposite has happened.
Yes and no. Because Labour did, during the election campaign, say that they were going to get rid of it, but not straight away.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake.
So I don't think it would be fair for people to have felt I mean, I would have approved of them getting rid of it last year, but I wouldn't describe that fairly as vindication, because they were specifically told when they went to the ballot box that it will be going this Parliament, but not in the first budget.
Yeah, they missed the trick. Because it could have been one of the things to get over the finish line and go ta-da and do something amazing, do a little tap dance once you've won.
Well, then, I mean, the same people found something else to moan at. They should still do it anyway, just because it has been described by experts, two of whom are now in the Treasury, working in the Treasury.
Chris is saying that they're not committed to scrapping the 2-child cap. Reeves is considering changing the cap to either 3 or 4 children, but they're not removing the cap.
But nonetheless, even that would be a huge boost. There's 2 people working in the Treasury now who have been saying for years that it is literally, with their own research, the single, if you were to do one thing to alleviate child poverty, that would be it. So it is true. It may well be that they don't just remove it, that they just extend the cap or, something like that. But even that would be a big improvement. And also the other thing to note is, on the other end of it, it doesn't magically solve everything. It doesn't magically solve child poverty if you get rid of it. We had children in poverty before the cap. The cap's only been in place for like 8 years. So, there's still more to be done.
Yeah.
So what we need to wait for is Labour's child poverty review, which has already been delayed. So that's what we need to wait for, because it's not enough. It's not like winning the World Cup if this is announced. It's like a first step.
I know, but these are, I mean, the child poverty review we knew was going to take ages, but people aren't banging on about that. People are banging on about the 2-child benefit cap, and have been since the election. And it's something that's close to people's hearts. And even if they don't have kids themselves, they feel, aggrieved that this was put in by the Tories. And it does seem unfeasibly unfair to go after the children. It's not like
majority
they're taking
people
money
approve of the policy
from people who can't be asked.
Majority of people approve of the policy.
Majority of Labour voters approve of the policy? I don't think so.
No, actually, I'd need to now check more recently. But last year there was a poll out that actually even had not a majority of Labour voters, but more Labour voters who approved of the cap than disapproved of it.
That'd be a majority then, wouldn't it?
No, because there's always a load that say don't know.
Right. Okay. So excluding,
it's like 40-odd%. I think it was 40-odd%, whereas it was something like 30-odd% thought it should go. So don't imagine in your echo chamber that what is popular in an echo chamber is more popular broadly. That being said, it's again one of these things. Labour can certainly safely remove it, because no one's going to be that arsed about it unless they think they're paying for it.
Yes.
But I actually know a Labour activist who herself has 5 kids and struggles. And she's in favour of the cap. Single parent.
Why?
5 kids.
Why?
Because, I
don't understand. They want us to have kids. We're told by these tech bros and oligarchs that it's our duty on this planet to have children. And then we're like, well, no, because it's so expensive.
Because this person I know, she thinks, because she knows a couple of people who she thinks swinging the lead a bit. It's the usual thing about it. People, if you make benefits too comfortable, it's not just the Tories that believe it. There's plenty in Labour. This is someone who works in Labour and she's a volunteer. She does tens of thousands of steps a week knocking on doors for them. She's really proper Labour. And she's got 5 kids, and she's a single parent on not a great wage, and she approves of the cap.
There's a Labour Party, a survey that's gone out, and it turns out Labour Party voters are more in favour of this cap than against it, or don't know.
That was last year. I would look at more recently.
I don't care when it was. That seems absolutely bonkers to me, and upends everything.
But you've got to understand how people
think. I knew about Labour. Maybe
But
they
you've got
are
just
just
to understand how people are. Like, you've got to understand the impact of a media that constantly pushes certain messages and pushes division. You know, like, I mean, nowadays it's trans people that are the bane of everything. I mean, literally, someone gets shot in America and it's trans bullets that did it. But, you know, before that, it was people on benefits.
well, I mean,
They were the scapegoats for everything.
single mums. They've been a target for the right wing since forever as well. And immigrants in general, and
Yeah.
Starmer's not making a positive
but-
case for immigration. And when we
No,
talk
he's
about people who are Labour voters going for these right wing, you know, social talking points or whatever, social policies, like one of the problems there, you just identified it yourself, is that the media is just drip feeding poison into people's brains every second of every day, and yet Labour are very reticent to do anything about it. They go to a big banquet with the king and sit next to Rupert Murdoch, don't they?
Yeah, saving a load of jobs. I mean, that
So
was
they have us
literally
over a
saving
barrel.
jobs. Yeah, they do have us over a barrel. That's life. That's
So
life.
if
especially
Rupert
outside
Murdoch
of the
didn't
EU.
own News International, nobody else could.
Who would do anything different? Anyone that can own it, by definition, is going to use it
It's gonna
to
be
enrich
evil.
enrich billionaires. It's really that simple.
So
There isn't anyone that could own it that would do anything different.
Well, let's make it so that whoever owns it, it has to be British, and who
Oh yeah,
live here.
I would like to see some proper action on that, but nonetheless,
And they
what
can
I'm
only
saying
own
is in the here and
10% of the
now-
media. No, 5%. No, 1%. 1%.
in the
of
here
media.
and now, Trump has us over a barrel. And like, you know, what is the point of sticking two fingers up at him and then losing a load of jobs and then losing the next election, letting Reform UK come in, who will just become Britain's, literally, Johnson wasn't Britain's Trump, Farage is.
He is. He absolutely is. Because Farage is proper evil and in with all the evil people. But what Starmer and Labour have been doing for the last couple of years, stop arguing, has been really kind of helping Farage to become our next Prime Minister, which is very, very disturbing.
Right. Sorry, I've just been accused of lying in the comments. So can I just, I'll put a link in the thing. So this is actually a very recent poll, right? Currently, this is the question. Currently, there is a 2-child limit on the number of children parents can claim child-related welfare benefits for. Do you think this limit should be kept or should it be abolished? Of Labour voters, what percentage do you think should it be kept? This is from July. This is 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Sorry.
Go on.
54% of Labour voters think it should be kept.
And what's the survey from?
YouGov. I only go with ones that do it properly. YouGov and Ipsos. More in common are all right.
So if they got...
That's the reality of the situation.
Is that excluding don't knows?
No, there's 54%. No, I never ever anyone who excludes don't knows is literally trying to fiddle data. You never exclude those.
So 54%,
54% of all Labour voters
excluding don't
think
knows.
it should be kept. No, not excluding don't knows. I never exclude don't knows. I'll go through the list. It's 54% kept, 33% should be abolished, 13% don't know.
Hang on, what? 54 say...
54% say it should be kept of Labour.
And 43%.
And I'll tell you another thing as well.
Hang on, 43% say...
No, 33%.
Oh, God, I was going to say the maths ain't math in there. Okay.
Shall I tell you something else as well that you might find interesting?
Go on.
So if it's 54% of Labour voters think it should be kept, what percentage of Lib Dem voters do you think it should be kept?
I think it's probably just as high, if not higher.
Yeah, 54.
I said just
I'll
as
put a
high, if
little
not
link.
higher. Look at that. Fucking bang on.
So I'm sorry, Clippy. I don't actually tell lies. I'm really very anti-lie. You know, I'm quite happy to back up my views and opinions.
We've got some breaking news, by the way. Hyacinth Bouquet has kicked the
Oh yeah,
bouquet.
so yeah.
Yeah.
We've had a few. We've had a few.
We had Jane
Usually,
Goodall,
yeah.
chimpanzee woman.
The primate studier.
Yeah.
What do you call it? What do you call them?
What?
Can't remember.
Old
People who study primates.
People who study in primaries. What?
Primates.
People who study primates. Primologists.
Is it?
Prime numbers. Primates. Like when you're high up in...
Speaking of which, we've got a new
church.
primate who's going to have to, Primarch who's going to have to be a matriarch, haven't we?
Yes. Matriarch of the Church of England, the new Archbishop of
Or the
Canterbury,
Anglican Church.
is
yeah.
a lady. is a lady. So breaking news. Sarah Mull Ali, her name is, and yeah, there you go. Take that. Anyway, so back to Labour, and what I
Although
think.
I'll tell you what it
doing.
does. I'll just tell you one thing it does show though, is Labour can, and they know they can, go ahead with a policy that is broadly unpopular, even amongst their own voters. And I'll tell you why. Because although there's 54% think it should be kept, as long as they don't personally think they're paying for it, they'll be cool with it. It's not going to affect their vote at the ballot box. So it shows they can tell the difference. You know, they can sort of look at that and go, oh, this is a policy that's unpopular with our voters, but we're going to do it anyway. Which is interesting, isn't it? Because you could apply that to a couple of other things.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is that if we were talking about this on Monday, if their comms were better, they could get away with a lot more stuff. They could bring people on side. Whereas at the moment, they're relying on the comms that people are getting from Murdoch and Mothermere in order to, enlighten people.
Shall I give you the latest on that?
Inform people.
Shall I give you a good example of that? A good example of that. And this is a problem. I've said this for a long time, but it's much more true now. So the problem is, some people, when they say, oh, Labour should really be countering this view and stuff like that, and it's really hard when you think about the fact that people are bombarded with different media outlets and different official looking groups on Facebook and stuff like that with a message. And if Labour call against it, it's like, how does one organisation like rail against it? But so digital ID, which as I was discussing in our little thing on Monday, I approve of the policy, but I also think it's not a good political move right now. Do you know what the latest on it is?
Go on.
It's absolutely tragic, this, right? So at the time on Monday, I described how polling had about 3 times as many in favour of it as against, right? So broadly popular, right? But I did talk about saliency then. The people who are in favour of it, not so in favour of it, will change their vote. The people against it, they might change their vote. So it was a bad political move. There's been some updated polling. It's now unpopular. So literally this policy that was popular a few weeks ago, Starmer has made it unpopular by announcing it.
Yes.
That's a bad
theoretically, it was a great idea.
Yeah.
But then in practice,
as Starmer,
and also
like
because
Brexit, isn't it?
Reeves were talking about ID cards 5 years ago, and that was fine. They were going, yeah, we should have them. And the Tories have also, thought about, possibly doing that, and that was no problem. But now that Starmer's announced it, they've pounced on him and said, oh, we don't want this.
Because this is the problem. Until he's restored his credibility, he probably shouldn't announce any controversial policies. Or not like that anyway. I thought it was the wrong time. I thought if you win the next election, you get a majority at the next election, that would be a good time. Because the problem Labour have got now is no delivery. And people are thinking that means they're not delivering. And whereas if they win the next election, they'll not only have the delivery of the first parliament, because some of the stuff they're doing won't actually appear until the next part. Some of it's actually long term, for which they'll get no views for the next election. But that means in the next parliament, not only will they'll have rolling developments, they'll have rolling delivery, I suppose is a better way of saying it. So if they win the next election with a majority, their popularity should remain broadly decent. So they could have done it then.
Yeah. Also, people freaking out about the polls, by the way, with Reform doing really well. And often those polls that people are citing, as we were talking about, they have the don't knows taken out. And
there's lots of statistical fiddles
from Labour to don't know. In fact, more people have gone, I think, from Labour to don't know than to any other political party. And then of the other political parties that people have gone to, Reform is right at the bottom from Labour, along with the Tories.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, for example, even if you're thinking about, Starmer's the problem. I mean, he is a problem because he keeps Morgan McSweeney near him. But like the latest polling from literally the last week still had people saying by some margin they would prefer Keir Starmer as Prime Minister to Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
So although Nigel Farage might be individually the most popular politician at the moment, political leader, should we say, nonetheless, there are way more people, like, again, saliency, there's a lot of people who really don't want Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
And again, we just need to give people something that shows that Labour are not just managing decline. That's the term, isn't it? Manage decline. we just need to give some people something that just says that's not what's happening. Even though I sort of think there is a good case to say that there is.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it is unfortunate because everyone's impatient. I'm impatient, but in this time in 2027, there will be delivery that you can point to people and they cannot deny it.
Yeah.
Whether it's enough is another matter. I'm not saying, oh yeah, it'll be fine at the next election. I'm not saying that. But there will be something at least in bricks and mortar, and, you know, another couple of years of rising incomes and hopefully inflate. The thing is about the inflation as well, though, I mean, the reason why inflation is still sticky at the moment is because they boosted pay last year. You boost people's incomes, they can spend more, and they did. It's one or the other. That's the thing about inflation. The trap we got stuck in for years was what's called stagflation, where you have low growth and high inflation.
Yes.
That's your problem, because usually you always have one or the other. If the economy is growing and people are doing well out of it, they spend more, so your inflation goes up. So then the Bank of England has to put up interest rates, and that calms the spending down. And then there's a risk that might calm growth down. But so you constantly have it, like growth feeds inflation. So you're constantly having to manage those two things.
But in terms of growth, Britain is actually doing rather well at the moment, which is, and it should be, because we haven't grown for the best part of 20 years under the Tories. But now finally the economy is look like it's getting back on its feet. Another question from Colin coming into the chat. Did Toronto change your political views in any way? Yes, it made me hate cars even more. I want all city centres pedestrianised. I don't care if I have to walk a mile to get to the cinema or a cafe. I want to be able to park outside and then walk, or get the train right in and walk, use my legs, because they had the main stretch, King Street, they had it closed where the cinemas were for a few days, and it was brilliant. It was like a carnival. And then the next day they opened it up, and it was just cars everywhere, and you can't let your guard down because there's cars coming from all directions at all times. It's really stressful.
Like the American style jaywalking laws, which were introduced as a result of the car manufacturers lobbying, didn't they?
Yes. Jaywalking comes from an old term, a jay meaning someone from the countryside, like equivalent of a bumpkin. So someone who didn't know how cities worked. And basically they were told that if they crossed the road in the wrong place, it was their fault if they got run over by a car.
Well, it rested. I mean, it was because there was obviously a time when you just basically had horse and carts. So people could, walk across the road quite easily. Pierre Curie copped for it because he was an idiot. But generally speaking, it's an horse, right? It's not going to come racing around the corner. You can hear it trotting.
And then people were killed by runaway horses. I think more people died on the roads in London in 1900 than they did in 2000.
But nonetheless, people were happy just crossing the road.
Yes,
you could hear the trotting of a horse.
Like
whereas when cars came along, and it slowed them down when you've got people in the road, just like when you've got sheep in the road, it slows the cars down. So car manufacturers lobbied the government in America to introduce jaywalking laws to tell people they weren't allowed to just randomly cross the road.
I've covered this a lot in my morning brew. I go on a bit of a rant about the fact that if you're in a car, you're sitting down, you're comfortable, you're listening to music. It doesn't matter if you have to stop. Whereas if you are walking, a pedestrian, if you're disabled and you've got to walk an extra half mile just to cross a freaking road, it's a bit unfair.
It is, yeah.
Council tax have gone up, water bills have gone up, says Chris C. Our energy bills are due to drop significant by 2027.
For some people, they will be dropping next year because anyone living near a pylon's getting a discount.
Yeah. What about this? They mooted the idea of regional charging, so that
they're not going to do that.
But
Number 10 knocked that one on the head, the zonal pricing. But, I mean, Miliband's still looking at something. Obviously, what they'd really like to do is bills may naturally anyway, because they are really ambitious in terms of transitioning to renewable. They plan on doing it, because although you talk about this decade of renewal, not every one of their plans is going to take 10 years. They do need some things for the election. And the transition to renewables sounds like it's intended for before the next election. So that could reduce those bills anyway, but at least you want something that allows you to reduce them certain areas. Like next year is part of it. Like, so it's okay if you live within 500 meters of a pylon, you get lower bills. So that would be useful. Reform UK are raging at that. But if you can do more of that, that's where the zonal idea for me worked well. The downside to it, and this is why Number 10 knocked it on the head, it's because, but the problem with this is it means it would go up in the southeast of England.
Yes.
Which is where most people live, which means most voters live. It might still be worth it, though.
They can bring the wholesale price of energy down, right,
Yeah.
across the country by unlinking it from gas
Yes.
and unlinking the dependence that we have on places like Saudi Arabia and Qatar to deliver our energy needs. Then once that's done, they can say, look, your energy bills have halved under us, and it's because of the transition to green. And Farage is lying to you about this. If you're going to go back to his filthy carbonaceous slime method, then be my guest, but it's going to drive your prices up double, and he's a scumbag.
They should call him a scumbag more often, in all honesty.
They should. Call him a fash.
But,
I'm a bit sad that David Lammy dialed that back when he said he fled.
So do I.
Youth, because he did.
Because it's one of those things. Farage denies it, and you cannot definitively prove it. But at the end of the day, you've got witness testimony from teachers, right? So, it's like, okay, it's one person's word against another, but that's fine. You can do that. Farage is fine doing that, after all. Yeah. He claims that he's basing several actual Reform UK policies on what some random taxi driver said, as Billy Bragg pointed out last week. So I am disappointed Lammy walked back on that. I don't think he should have done. I thought he should have said, well, in fact, you know what? He should have, with a cheeky wink, have said, some people told me.
Yeah.
Some people told me. A taxi driver told me, Nigel. Taxi driver told me. He reckons he knows you when you were young. That's what I'd have said.
Just to go back to the conference, I thought Rachel Reeves' speech was a bit rubbish, to be honest with you. It was very light on anything kind of, concrete. Starmer's speech, it was the speech that he should have made last year.
Well, it was more. I can't remember much about the one last year. I don't ever watch them anyway. I just read the transcripts later.
It was all like, God, we've got got a hard place to go next.
Because they had that mad idea that people will factor in the fact they wanted people to factor in things getting worse before they got better, and it's like, but you don't seem to understand. They've been told since 2010 that things are going to get better.
Yeah.
In fact, they've been told since 2008 that things after the crash that things are going to get better, and it's like they were. And then 2010 happened, then austerity happened, it got worse. But it was like green shoots of recovery. Then Brexit was going to be the thing. Then this was going to be the thing. Then the other was going to be the thing. And people are sick of it. The public have had 14 years of being told that improvements are just around the corner. It doesn't matter that this is now a different party saying it. They don't give a shit. It's still the government saying, just hang on a little bit longer. People are sick of hanging on a little bit longer. So what they should have done was hyped. Like in opposition, everything's shit, right? That's your attitude. In government, everything's either you've got to pitch it right. You can't say everything's great when it's clearly not, but you can say everything's on the road, right? And you can talk about this road. It's a bit like actually for the second time I'm going to reference Steinbeck now, but you talk about trying to explain to Lenny about their great life on the farm. That's what Starmer needed to do. Keep bringing people back, even though they're living in Depression era America. Keep bringing them back to the dream, the end goal. What's at the end of this road?
That's what the right do very well.
Keep describing it.
The right do that so well. They make people who are living in dire circumstances feel good about their lives, even though they're living in dire circumstances. Those on the left make people feel bad. They're like, you're poor. That must be shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, okay, I wasn't acknowledging the fact that it was that shit until you've just pointed it out. But now you have pointed it out. I feel really sad. And that's the sort of thing that Labour really need to get through their stupid heads, that people don't want to be called poor. No one wants to be called poor. And no one wants to talk about, we're going to tax the rich because they think that one day they'll be rich. So don't say rich, say billionaires, say foreign billionaires. Just to pick a tiny segment of the society that no one really aspires to be, and say, right, we're going to go after the newspaper magnates. We're going to go after the X, Y, Z.
Well, they could do that.
We've got a super chat. We've got the first super chat of the show. Hey, I don't know what I've been doing wrong or right, maybe. Thank you very much to Paula Thomas for that. What if we force Northern Ireland to be a workers' co-op?
I think he might mean national insurance there.
No, I think it would be funny if it was Northern Ireland. Let's force them to be a workers' co-op. Get East and West Belfast united as a co-op, all working together.
I think we might have done enough damage to Ireland. What do you think?
Yeah, true. Okay, Paula, thank you for the super. Why would we force national insurance to be a workers' co-op?
I don't know what we do about national insurance. It's one of those things I've been talking about a bit recently. If you were designing a tax system from the ground up, you would never introduce it. It's a bad tax. But how do you get rid of it without screwing the pensioners? You can't. So, at the end of the day, if you get rid of it and smooth it out amongst income tax, there is no way of just loading it up on like upper tiers of income tax and leaving poorer. I suppose, I don't know. But it is a bad tax. I can understand the reason it came in the first place, but these days it's just a bad tax.
It's old-fashioned, isn't it?
It
came in what was it? Was it the 1910s they brought it in?
Can't remember exactly. But it's regressive because it hits workers and it doesn't hit people on passive income. And although we often then will talk about, pensioners and workers and stuff like that, but reality, anyone with a passive income doesn't pay national insurance. You only pay it on not even strictly speaking work, because I pay national insurance, you pay national insurance, but you don't pay it if you're just getting dividends off, if you just got enough money. Jacob Rees-Mogg don't pay it. He don't pay national insurance. He would have paid it on his MP's salary.
Yeah.
But he won't pay national insurance now at all. He won't pay a penny of it.
And yeah, he'll still get a state pension.
Yeah.
On top of his billions in the bank.
Small fry. But I wonder if he'll even qualify for the full amount. But nonetheless, he won't pay any national insurance, and yet he's making a fortune.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I keep banging on about the fact that Buckingham Palace only pays about £2,000 in bloody council tax.
Again, if you had proper land tax and didn't give exceptions to Crown estates, there's obviously a difference between land that belongs to the state and he just has use of. That's fine, but in terms of he's rich in his own right. He's a billionaire, the king, and I'm someone perfect. I'm not a Republican, but he should still pay his own way. He's a billionaire. He can afford to pay tax on his land he owns. Yep. So land tax is my thing. And if people would just talk about land tax, it's way harder as well to say no, because you've literally got history's most famous economists on the left and the right saying, tax land, you idiots. They've been saying it for literal centuries.
Yeah. Sam says, I can't believe they're trying to blame what happened yesterday in Manchester on Starmer. Yeah, that was the newspapers today. It was because Netanyahu said it was Starmer's fault. And you're just like, that is just hopelessly idiotic response. Yeah. Quite grim as well. Gareth T, thank you very much for the £5 super chat, my friend. Time we called out the right, referring to Tommy 10 names and Farage as patriots. They are anything but, and frankly, a threat to our security.
Yeah, well, Starmer keeps calling them plastic patriots, doesn't he? That's like a Labour's thing.
Plastic patriots, but yeah, so to go back to the conference for a moment. So did you watch Keir Starmer's speech?
No, I read it. I don't watch speeches. I don't like speeches. They're boring, right? I've only listened to them when I've been at work and been forced to. And so I'll happily read transcripts. You get transcripts of them. I'll just read those later. They're fine. They're more. It would be different. Actually, no, it wouldn't be different. I was going to say it would be different if they were actually good at delivering speeches, but actually it might make it worse, because someone who's a good orator might get you to think more positively about something where if you just read it. It's why I always say it's always worth reading exact transcripts of what Trump says. That's sometimes funnier than when he says it.
Or get someone else to read it out.
Yeah.
There's a woman who does that on TikTok.
Oh, really?
And it's just brilliant. She just reads out exactly word for word what he said, and coming out of someone else's mouth, it just sounds absolutely ridiculous while he's doing the weave. Ernie, thank you very much. He says, the problem is that the propaganda from the right has made abject failure something you aren't held accountable for. That is the political climate that Labour needs to overcome or be part of the problem. Yes.
It's like Graham's just said, if Labour can like deliver, if they can say, like on the energy thing, if they can say, look, it'll probably be £300 rather than half would be brilliant, but they've only promised 300. So if it's although they haven't necessarily said by the next election, but hopefully it will be. So if they can say your bills are now 300 quid cheaper because of our transition to renewable energy, oh sure, vote to have that taken away and have your bills go up again, why not? That's a good thing. And if you can do that for several other things as well. Exactly. And that's what you do as well. That is when I was talking about risk on Monday. That's how you create the risk. Give people something to lose. The reason why a lot of people voted for Brexit isn't because they were convinced by the Brexit argument. Some were, but some of them just thought they had nothing to lose. They actually literally thought they were on life's bottom rung and there was nowhere further down to go. So you have to give people something to lose. If people have something to lose, they are less inclined to do it. I mean, if I give you an example, when I started doing this channel, like full time, when I made the decision to go full time, I was single. I'm not now. Now, at the time, had I been in a relationship when I made that decision, and my partner had said, because my wife probably would have told, she said herself, she probably would have told me not to do it. Not to go full time, not too big a risk. And I wouldn't have done because I'd have felt that responsibility, right? But because I was single and I'm a bit, you know, I'm not reckless. I used to be reckless in my 20s. I'm not less so nowadays. Calculated risks. But I'm quite happy to take calculated risks. And because I didn't have that, I was able to do it. And I didn't feel I was sacrificing anything. Yeah. So you give people something to lose, and they're more risk averse. Yeah. And a lot of people in this country are risk averse. So if Labour give them something that credibly Reform UK could take away, they won't vote Reform UK. Yeah, exactly. So it's as simple and as difficult as that. The strategy, you can get into all sorts of philosophical bollocks about Labour's strategy, but when it comes down to brass tacks, it is Labour must give key voters something that they didn't have before and that they can credibly claim Reform UK will take off them. Yeah.
We got a super chat in from Chris C. Thank you very much to Chris for that. National Insurance Act 1911, which I was referring to,
there we go,
created a system of insurance to protect working people from losing income due to sickness or unemployment, it was not state pensions, but then it was expanded.
Yeah, as I say, I knew it had good reasons for being brought in, but these days it's just now ironically it was brought in to help workers, but it is now it is an anti-worker tax.
Yeah. And then we had, what did I want to read out? There was a point that somebody made, which was good, but then I have lost it. I hate it when that happens. David Lloyd George, for whom English was a second language. His first language was Welsh. Could you imagine that these days? A prime minister for whom English is a second language. Jesus. I don't know if did someone put something in that I wanted to read out, and then I just got it. Oh no, it's Adam Mayhem. Thank you, Mayhem even. Some of the arguments against land tax suggest it's too difficult, and some poorer people will be worried about how it would hit them. Why not phase it in? Golf courses, grouse moors, and kings first.
That's what I've suggested. Well, no, I've actually suggested. So imagine land, right? So if a particular plot of land has property tax levied on it at the moment, it can carry on with because we have council tax as property tax, right? So you can still reform that. In fact, I think Rachel Reeves has been thinking about that. So you can keep that separate for now, right? Any land that's already taxed with a property tax, you don't double tax it. So you specifically start with land that doesn't have property tax levied on it. So you start with land that currently has no tax levied on it. And you do. And then that's free money, literally, because you're not changing a tax, or you're literally taxing something that isn't currently taxed. And it's zero risk because you're not going to chase away any investors, because that land, if it doesn't already have property tax levied on it, it's not really an investment. Like you would exclude, The farmers is a tricky one because you don't want farmers shitting the pants again. But there is a way, France do it. There's a way of telling the difference between a real farm and a fake farm.
Yeah.
You can do it. And in terms of the difficulty as well, now, because I saw a top economist, a Nobel Prize winning economist, talking about this. And what they said is, a few years ago, it would have been really difficult. But with AI, you can actually now do it.
Yeah.
You could do it. But start with, just consider all land, like split it into 3 categories. Either it belongs to the state, or if it's privately owned, it's either already paying property tax or it's not. If it's not, land tax.
Yeah.
For that.
Yep, that's the way to do it. So, so the big speeches were Rachel Reeves, which I thought was a bit shit, and Starmer's speech, which I thought was a lot better than anything he's done up to this point, but it's a bit frustrating that it's taken him this long to get there. There's a lot of chatter about Andy Burnham at the conference, and I thought, actually being there, it was there was more chatter outside the conference than there was actually in the conference about Andy Burnham and this idea that he might take over as Prime Minister
Andy
somehow.
the Adder Burnham.
And, sorry?
Andy the Adder Burnham.
Andy the what Burnham?
Adder Burnham. Snake in the grass.
Oh, the Adder. Okay. But, realistically speaking, he doesn't have much chance of becoming Labour leader by dint of the fact he's not an MP.
Exactly. And Starmer would be absolutely... It's the same issue that Boris Johnson has. I mean, Boris Johnson's got multiple issues. But the same issue he has. In order for him to get a by-election, someone would have to stand down. Now, there is actually someone who looks close to retirement in Manchester. So actually for Andy Burnham, there's a ready-made seat there. But, I mean, that would just be utterly insane. If they block him, that would create a bit of a schism. If they didn't block him, that would create a massive schism. Yeah. I mean, he should just piss off. Stay in Manchester.
Yeah.
Because the thing that gets me about Andy Burnham as well, I've never really been a massive fan.
But you don't like him, do you? Why don't you like him?
It's not I don't like him. No, I don't. No. On a personal level, I don't hold views on people I don't know, right? I've got no issue with him personally. I might love
you just called him a snake in the grass. You just called him an adder.
Yeah, but that's his
You don't say that about someone that you like. You're like, I love you.
I don't like or dislike people I don't know. Right? I don't like or dislike people I don't know. But from a professional point of view, he's a bullshit merchant, right? He says, Labour needs a leader that's not London-centric, right? Starmer at the moment is actually pissing Sadiq Khan off and Sadiq Khan said, you need to invest more in London. Starmer's going, bollocks, we need to invest more everywhere else. So he is actually the opposite of a London-centric Prime Minister because he's literally moving money from where ordinarily it would be invested in London elsewhere. And in terms of London-centric, he's London-centric. What is his biggest achievement? What is the thing that makes it he can achieve things?
He's
improving public transport in Manchester.
Regulated the buses
by copying London.
Yes, but for Manchester, he didn't do it for London.
No, I know, but he based it on London, which is not a bad thing because you keep saying London's got a brilliant transport system.
It's like world class. It's probably the best on the planet.
Nonetheless, provably, he is London-centric.
What? That makes no sense.
He's copying
You
London.
take a good idea for another country and go, your education policy is Finland-centric.
That's exactly what it is. If you do...
What?
If you learn French cooking, that's Francophilic cooking. That's literally what it is.
This analogy is getting us nowhere.
Anyway.
Diz says, I like Andy Burnham.
You can like him all you like. He's still a snake in the grass and he talks bullshit. Then he says, we shouldn't be in hock to the bond markets. So, what's your plan for not doing then?
I'd like to pick something up that he did say about rejoining the EU.
Well, yeah, again, he's just...
Where Nick said we should call out Brexit for the disaster that it is. However, in 2017, Andy Burnham said we should have a second... If we have a second referendum, he would vote to leave.
Yeah.
Just saying. I like him.
He's basically Andy Burnham, right? What he's doing is he's saying the things you want a political leader to say. That's what he's doing.
Good. That's what I want to happen.
No.
I'm sick of having people saying things that I don't want them to say. Let's take away people's pip. Let's go after trans people for no good reason.
So what was better then when we had a prime minister that said, oh yeah, immigration's a bit of a problem, but then they carried on allowing immigration to happen, right? You want a political leader that does things, not says things. If you want them to say things, we could have kept Jeremy Corbyn. We could have kept Ed Miliband. You know, we can just stay in opposition. Yeah, they can say what they like.
They didn't do very well. They didn't do very well.
So you want someone who does something, not says something.
Whereas Andy Burnham's got, like, you know, he's managed to become Metro Mayor of Manchester twice in a row, and he's probably going to stay there until, you know, the heat death of the universe. But we have a super chat. Go on.
You just need a red rosette to stay Manchester Mayor.
True. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. I'm a Labour member and will categorically stay with the party. However, my voice and many other Labour Party members' voices are continued to be shut out at conferences. Yeah, Ivan, I'm going to be having words with, I've had words at the conference about this and some of the other problems that I had at conference when it came to accessibility. And I'll be taking them forward to the actual. I
mean, the thing is as well, I mean, again, you know, it comes down to the issue of social media as well. What Labour just don't understand is a lot of people want to have a say. A lot of people who get involved in politics want to have a say. And I don't know why Labour, and I know they want to stage manage, there's a natural desire to stage manage things and micro manage things. But at the end of the day, your conference is there partly because, like, what's it there for? What's it there for? You don't need it to announce things because you can just hold a press conference to announce something. It's there to let, you know, the party faithful have a say. And if they come out, and there's always motions that the Labour leadership are categorically not going to go along with, you just stand up and have your say and just allow it to happen and don't make a big fuss. So they do need to increase. They need to embrace the idea of people being able to have their say, because for a lot of people, it's not a problem. It's not something that's going to trip you up. You know, you could have someone at the Labour conference say, do you know what we should do? We should give even more money to billionaires. And it's like, that would be a mad thing to do. But it's like the Labour leadership could say, well, we don't agree, so we're not going to. Which is what they do with half the motions anyway. They've already done it. Like, you know. Well,
they had a motion for bringing in PR, didn't they?
The biggest motion that's one in Labour that's not been made formal policy is pro-proportional representation. Labour have, as a result of there's a petition going around, by the way, it's got tens of thousands of views, but that means it's already had its statement from the government. And the government have come out and said, look, we think this is the best system, despite the fact that the party officially, in fact, the party, not just a motion at conference, the NEC, which has a load of Starmer's people on it, said a couple of years ago that first past the post breeds mistrust in politics and alienates people.
Yes.
So the leadership are perfectly at liberty to take a completely counter view to something that comes up in conference. So don't try and micromanage the conference. Just let people come up.
But I was going to say, like Rachel Reeves' speech, whatever. Starmer, I think he made a good speech, but you know, it didn't set my world on fire, but it was better than he'd done before. But by and large, I think they came out of the conference okay. You know, I don't think they came out of the conference badly. I don't think there was any massive fuck up. There was no big Barney that happened in the conference, apart from Owen Jones having his access revoked. Dark 4x4, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Fafe, yeah, honest son face, great chieftain of the pudding race, aboon them and tack your place. That's from Rabbi Burns addressed to the haggis. Anyway, thanks for that. Thanks for the super chat and the poetry there. Tory party conference starts on Sunday in Manchester. I think
you've got the Greens and the Conservatives this weekend.
Yeah, and I don't think that the Tories are going to come out of their conference like Labour did. I think that's something might happen.
No, I think people are paying such little attention to them that I actually think they'll get. I don't think anything. We'll see, but I don't think. Honestly, people don't care.
Oh no, and I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about the actual Tory party at the moment, because they are in absolute blind panic.
Well,
Kemi Badenoch is about as popular as, you know, a day old turd. And
if it's true that Reform UK have got themselves another tasty defection lined up.
Yes.
You would absolutely unveil it on the eve of the conference.
Yes, which is what I think they plan to do.
But is this rumour just because it would be the obvious time to do it? And, so I don't know whether it's just a rumour or there's anything in it. But
who do you reckon? Genvic?
No, I was going down in my stream if it was going to be, because the last one, Kruger, was actually a member of her front bench, so it wouldn't be as big a defection unless it was another member. If you look at a combination of being a bit batshit plus being in a seat that Reform UK are going to look good in next time, you'd be looking at either Laura Trott or Helen Whately. I can see both of those. I did actually, interestingly, say maybe Victoria Atkins, but then I was assured by someone who had met her and her father and stuff like that, that they really hate Reform UK. So maybe not.
What about,
I may have misaligned her.
What about Liv Thruff?
See, she's not an MP.
I know,
so
she's not, but she was a former...
senior Tory. Yeah, but she's not a senior Tory.
Well, she was the Prime Minister, mate, for like a week. But she was the Prime Minister. She
was a royal assassin is what she was. And
Paula, thank you very much for the super chat. Paula just says, I mean, News International, you moppets. I have no idea what you're referring to, Paula. I missed your earlier message. But yes, News International. Gobshites.
Times and stuff, the Murdoch stable.
The Murdoch bastards. But yes, One Angry Pig says 12 new towns, stroke extra residential areas, 9 new forests, 7 new reservoirs.
Getting some new reservoirs for the first
5
time,
gold rings, free calling beds. Anyway, boosting green energy, nationalisation of various things, and major devolution out of London is hardly trimming around the edges, in my honest opinion.
But a lot of people don't know about it, so they need to get better at the messaging. But some of it will then be apparent. I mean, the new towns won't be. Steve Reed has said they'll have started. You obviously can't knock up a town in a week. They'll have started 3 of them by the next election, so there'll be like, evidence of it that can be in the news. But the housing, again, this time in 2027, if they're going to even come close to meeting their target on housing, the evidence will be there.
Yeah.
Right.
We hope. But there were fewer houses built last year, weren't there? Anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, well, they usually. It depends if you're basing it on completions. A house can be done in anything between 6 months and 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's a hang on. And also, they were still passing the legislation.
Yeah.
Darren, 2027.
We have a question from Darren. Is Zach Polanski's Greens a big risk to Labour?
Any vote splitting on the left is a risk to Labour, anyone at all. In terms of Zach Polanski specifically, maybe, if he, because he openly said he wants the Greens to be a populist party. If it turns out he gets better at communicating and he appeals to people who, he could be. But the Green Party always would be anyway.
Yeah.
The Your Party also will be. So, any vote splitting is always a threat in a first-past-the-post system.
Oh, sorry. News International, that's what NI stood for.
Oh, right, I got you.
Thank you very much, Paula, for the £2 super chat to clear that up.
So they should become a workers' co-op.
Sorry, not National Insurance. No, not Northern Ireland. News International to be turned into a workers'
co-op.
Woo-op.
Right.
Co-op.
I don't think Murdoch will go for the idea, if I'm honest.
Sorry, Paula. That's not the first thing I think of when I see NI.
No.
I think Northern Ireland.
It's not the second thing I think of either.
No, that's National Insurance. And the third one I think of is Neil Innes, who was the 7th Python. Adams.
7th what?
Python, Monty Python. Neil Innes,
right, yeah.
He did the songs for the Ruttles.
Yeah.
And he sung Isn't It Great to Be an Idiot, which the tune of was totally stolen by the Gallagher brothers for whatever.
Really?
Yeah, it's exactly the same tune. How great it is to be an idiot. Anyway, Chris says, question. Chris has a question. Now, how can Labour crack on with house building when local communities are constantly blocking new developments with appeals taking ages to be heard? We're trying to clear
the that's the problem with more Reform UK councils, particularly if they nick them off Labour. That can be an issue. But part of their their reforms are overriding it. Now, yes, it does take time. It'd be much easier if those play, but they're imposing. They're basically what they were doing is imposing a duty on councils to build the house and like saying to them, you can choose where they go. And if you don't choose, this is Rayner, but obviously it'll be Reed now, says, I will choose for you. So the idea is to try and speed the process up. They're telling them these are coming, whether you like it or not. And I'm giving you the choice of where they go.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, obviously, housing development, you have to include local government in it. But at the same time, the attitude, and this was the attitude before the election, Starmer was saying, he was openly saying, I am just going to ram things through the NIMBYs and I don't give a shit. Yeah. And that has been a fairly consistent attitude of his. You're not going to block this.
We had another super chat come in from Ivan. Thank you very much, Ivan. It's very kind of you. Zach Polanski has some dangerous views with his left-wing populism.
Well, I mean, people can say that about anyone. At the end of the day, we have a first past the post system. That is the major problem. If we had a representative system, I would appeal. See, the Green Party are the Green Party and they're their own party and they've been a party for ages. Obviously, they want to do as well as possible. All I would urge voters is to think, and I know I say this as party political myself, so I don't tell people how to vote, but I would just say, when we get to the election, doesn't matter now, but when we get to the election, just have a think about in your own area. Is it better? Have you won the argument if we have a Reform UK government, but the Green Party have 30 seats? I would probably suggest Zach Polanski at that point has not won the argument. He has just doomed a shitload of people. But at the end of the day, it's his job to do as well as he can with the Green Party. That is literally his job, and that's fine. You can't attack that. I can attack him for various things, but not that. The problem is our system. Like if we had a proportional system, a representative system, and then, Labour felt short and needed a coalition, it would then be up to potentially the Green Party to decide whether it wanted to form part of that coalition or alliance or something. They would then have that choice. Yeah. So our problem ultimately, I don't like it when a politician deliberately lies or misleads, but that you do get a bit of that as well. But the problem is the electoral system. We should have an electoral system that allows these parties to exist.
Yeah.
And allows them to do well and to not complain about it, to make a better argument. The answer should be make a better argument. The problem is you can make a better argument and still lose. Yeah. Because we have a first past the post system that can allow a government to win a majority on definitely 30% of the vote, maybe less. Yeah. Maybe less.
Brighton and Hove actually says, abbreviations are confusing. I remember a doctor saying her sick rabbit needed TLC. I looked at another biochemist before we asked incredulously how she was going to thin layer chromatography on it.
Yeah. Well, there's a thing in physics, you see, it gets a bit awkward when you're a young lad particularly. If you're talking about PMT, that's like photomultiplier tube. Well, and you would abbreviate it because no one wants to write full photomultiplier tube over and over again. So you abbreviate it to PMT.
PMT. And also, that's why we never had Paris Mean Time.
Oh, is it?
No. It's not just that. But yeah, just
I
before
look to
we
you
go,
for geographical and historical things, you see.
I will be very surprised if Kemi Badenoch lasts the rest of the year.
I don't think they're in a rush to get rid of it, but I think they are next year.
I think that it's going to come out of this conference. I think there's going to be a leadership challenge.
There's going to be
some people maneuvering.
They're going to risk Genric.
They're going to maneuver themselves into positions to go for a leadership challenge because she is useless. But here's the thing, Phil. I think that we need. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think we need the Tories back. The annihilation of the Tory party seemed like a great idea 18 months ago, but now, in the
if it wasn't going to be replaced
cold,
by something.
harsh light of day with Farage waiting in the wings, we need to split the right wing vote.
This is why, I mean, I say about people who, quite reasonably say, the BBC should, piss off. I don't want to pay taxes to support the BBC because of their political and news content. But at the same time, it's the same with the tourists. It's like, I've said for years, it will be replaced by something Murdoch owns, or
the BBC is one of our most successful It's one of our most successful things that we've ever made in this country. It exports all over the world. It brings in billions into this country every year. It does what it does. Natural history documentaries and period dramas and comedies. It does it very, very, very well. And I will defend the BBC to the hilt, although the politics side of it is bullshit. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
It's the same here. Like, we have a right wing. There are people who are right wing in this country, and there are people who are authoritarian. So if the Tory party disappeared, it was always going to have to be replaced by something.
Yes.
I wouldn't have minded if it was like the Reform UK take over the right wing authoritarian wing, and the Lib Dems encroach into the sort of centre left conservative with a small c thing.
Yeah.
However, for them to do that, they would have to shift themselves to the right economically. I mean, it's one of those things. They're centrist, right? So to someone like me, they look right wing, and to someone on the right, they look left wing. Yeah. In reality, they're a bit of both. But a bit like Macron. Like, to me, Macron looks right wing. One from the top,
one from the bottom, one from the middle.
Well, he is. But it's like, to me, Macron looks right wing, and yet he's still completely nationalised energy in France. So, because he is. It depends how you look at it, isn't it? If you're on the left, you look at all their right-wing policies, and if you're on the right, you look at all their left-wing policies. But the Lib Dems would have to most definitely shift to the right.
Yeah.
They can't just hope that those voters go to them. They're going to have to go to those voters. And at the moment, I'm not seeing major signs of them doing that.
Yeah.
So, Reform UK are going to carry on spreading unless the Conservatives can counter. We do need the Conservatives to
Labour can't counter them. Labour,
No.
And they shouldn't. Labour should forge their own path, and they should be making a positive case for immigration. They should be making a positive case for net zero. They should be making a positive case for YIMBYism and infrastructure.
They are doing those
and changing education system. Because at the moment, you do your GCSEs, it's all fucking exams, because it was put together by Cummings and Gove, two incredibly posh men who think that, your brain condition on one day of your entire life should set things in motion for the rest of time.
I mean, we need a fundamental rethink about all aspects of education assessment, because coursework as well is now subject to the AI beast. Yes. So you need a fundamental rethink on how you assess.
Yes.
Universities should lead the way, because universities have to do essays. I mean, again, it was all right for me on physics. You didn't have to have any of that. You could do everything.
Yeah. But it shouldn't. There's got to be a happy medium. You can't have it all coursework where people can just script from AI.
You need a better way of assessment. You need to get rid of everything. And get rid of exams.
At the moment, it's 100% exams.
But there should be no exams, but there should also no coursework.
Yeah.
You need something different. They're both weak.
They're making these 16-year-olds do like 6 hours worth of exams just for one subject, and it's all on the day, and so it's spread out over 2 or 3 days. But like the fact that
some of them have to live with a teacher.
You are not feeling well that day, say your periods come on, say whatever, or something bad has happened at home, your goldfish has died, you don't know, and to take a snapshot of someone's mental state in one day. Imagine like Shakespeare, that they just went up to him and said, "Listen, mate. On Tuesday, the 23rd of June this year, you're a bit below par. So we're going to take that as read that you can't write anything for the rest of your life."
Well, he can't as a scribbler. He wrote Macbeth and Hamlet, and everything else was shite. Some of it racist shite, some of it misogynistic shite, but it was all shite. I don't think he wrote Hamlet and Macbeth. I think he wrote the rest of it. I think all the shit stuff was his work.
Could you be a more cranky Yorkshireman if you possibly tried?
I used to love doing this.
One of the greatest, the greatest
scribbler, mate.
The greatest writer of all time.
The scribbler.
Absolutely fantastic.
And when I used to share an office at a college with English teachers, I used to love winding him up.
No one else comes close. He is the Beatles of literature.
Don't get me on that either. But,
He invented half of the words that we use every day. Half of the phrases that we use come from the King James Bible, and the other half come from Shakespeare.
If it was bollocks. He was a propagandist as well. He's a Tudor propagandist.
What do you mean a Tudor propagandist? What, because the Merry Wives of Windsor wasn't mean about Henry VIII?
And also there was Richard III. That was terrible.
Richard III, who did have a hunchback.
Doesn't know.
We found his skeleton. He had You're still bitter because he was
He
Richard
got
of
smacked
York.
over the head. You'd have a hunch.
Mate, you've got to get over it. The War of the Roses was 500 years ago, mate. Just get over it, all right? Get over it.
Lost.
You lost.
Yeah, but they shouldn't have done.
You did.
He was the rightful king.
You did, though. Battle of Bosworth, mate.
Yeah, but he was the rightful king.
No, along came Henry VII, who never murdered anyone in a tower or have a hunchback.
Well, no, okay, he probably did murder the twins, but or the nephews rather. But nonetheless, they were illegitimate. That was historians now say that Richard's older brother was illegitimate. And
historians also say that Shakespeare was the greatest playwright of all time. So
no,
I'm sorry,
that's English teachers who are too a
you can't take them on one thing and then not take them on the other.
No, historians don't say that. That's got nothing to do with historians.
Do you know who didn't like Shakespeare? George Bernard Shaw. And I've read.
He won a Nobel Prize, didn't he?
Sorry?
Didn't he win a Nobel Prize?
George Bernard Shaw.
Literature.
Yeah, the Nobel Prize didn't exist when Shakespeare was around.
Yeah, but nonetheless, you're now dissing a Nobel laureate of literature.
No, I'm saying that he was down on Shakespeare as well, and he wrote his own plays.
Maybe he didn't like the fact that people have been taught to be racist in schools.
They weren't Shakespeare.
When I was in school, we were taught to be racist because of Shakespeare.
Why were you taught to be racist? Go on.
Because we had to do The Merchant of Venice.
Yes. Where he says, if you prick me, do I not bleed? He makes a really good,
but the
passion
end of it,
speech about how he's.
Yeah, but what happens is he's forced to convert to Christianity and eat a bacon sarnie.
because he goes mad wanting a pound of flesh, and it's like, come on, man, you've got a bit far here.
Fair enough. They don't get a pound of flesh, but he should have had his money back.
I think it'd be more racist to make all of his minority characters perfect.
They didn't give him his money back. He should have had his money back. He was diddled. The hero of Merchant of Venice was a swindler. He swindled a Jewish man, and the Jewish man had to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
There you go. You taught a lesson there about discrimination.
I learned a lesson about discrimination amongst English
that's
teachers.
all Othello is about. Iago is just a racist. He doesn't like the idea that Othello, a black man, has married Desdemona, a white woman, and he sets out to mess it up.
But it was... I was told at the end of my GCSEs, my English teacher, who never liked me anyway, for some reason. I know why, actually. And I said, can I do another essay to bung my mark up? Yeah. Well, it was, I reckon, because she said, no, you've got an A easy, don't worry about it. And I got a B. And I reckon it's because in my essay on Merchant of Venice, I absolutely slated the racism in it. It's disgusting.
The 500-year-old racism.
Yeah.
Don't forget, in Othello, you have a setup where a black guy marries a white woman, something that you couldn't even show a white man kissing a black woman on American TV in the 1960s when they did that on Star Trek. It wasn't featured in some of the states that it was broadcast to. They skipped that episode.
America is like even more regressive than the Tudors.
Than the goddamn Tudors. Yeah. But Paula Thomas says Shakespeare was the original spin doctor. And Grimfang says that Shakespeare is fine, overhyped, but solid still. Most of the stories that
Charles Dickens.
Enjoy,
we should be doing Charles Dickens.
What?
Charles Dickens was a proper socialist writer. We should be studying Charles. And
but he used to wibble on about the bloody... he was paid by the word, so his books are so goddamn wordy. He has to describe every scene down to some minutiae that I do not care about.
A Christmas Carol weren't long. You could read that in no time.
Okay, yeah. We know Christmas Carol trots along at a fair old whack, but I mean the rest of them.
But we should be learning about him.
They do. So my stepdaughter's doing Shakespeare. She's doing Shakespeare. She's doing Macbeth, and she's doing Christmas Carol.
None of my GCSE was based on Dickens. We even did Lord of the Flies, which was also a good story. We didn't do anything on that. And when we watched the film of it was in 2 bits. And I had a dentist appointment, so I missed Piggy getting squished, like the best bit of the whole thing. Yeah. And but we did it. We studied the book and everything. None of my GCSE was based on it. None of it. And given that the national curriculum, I don't care what they do in the school, the national curriculum dictates what they get assessed on. Yeah. And it's all Shakespeare, nothing else.
Yes, I will agree with you that it is very Shakespeare heavy, the syllabus in this country, too much so. Yes, I completely agree with that, but I'm not having you saying that Shakespeare is overrated. Not having that.
He is overrated by definition.
You
'cause
just
too many
don't like
people think
him. It's like the Beatles.
I
When
don't-
people say the
it's
Beatles
not-
are overrated, you just don't like them.
No, I don't like them, but I accept that the Beatles are a great band because so
Yes.
many people do, and
he
I
was a
accept
great-
that Shakespeare was a great scribbler because so many people, have under the misapprehension he could write things, even though we don't know. Like Macbeth is good from a literary point of view. Macbeth is good. I'm not keen on the story.
How would you like it if I had to go at your king like Sean Bean or something said he couldn't act? And then you're sitting there going, I'm pretty sure he can. He's in a lot of good movies. Yeah, but he was in Patriot Games and he tried to do a Northern Irish accent and he couldn't pull it off and he was crap.
Well, that's fine. You can say
Get
that.
our fucking car.
Well, that's like most people. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, he was all right. He did a reasonable accent. He was all right. But most people who try and put it on can't do it. They should stick to American accents. Anyone can do those. That's why they employ British actors in American dramas, because they can put on the accent reasonably well and they don't make a fuss.
Yeah. Anyway,
they get given the lines and they say the lines like good talking props.
I've got me notes here. It was like Labour Party conference, Reeves speech, Starmer speech, where next? Tory Party conference. Shakespeare, Sean Bean.
You brought Sean Bean into it.
You
brought Shakespeare into it.
Anyway, I maintain that Shakespeare cannot possibly be overrated because he wrote 37 plays and 36 of them were really good. Anyway, so Phil,
which was the one that wasn't then?
Bloody Timon of Athens and possibly Coriolanus. That was a bit shit.
Oh no. Yeah. The only ones I know about. There's a Midsummer's Night's Dream, which is shite.
That was brilliant.
He was on magic mushrooms when he wrote that.
Yeah, it was great.
That's probably why you like it, actually, because the Beatles were stoned when they wrote their stuff, and
I'm against drugs. I don't take drugs myself. I just
You just like the product of it.
People on drugs aren't productive, Phil. People on drugs
much ado about
sit on the couch and giggle. That's what they do. They don't write some great sonnet. It just doesn't happen.
Much Ado About Nothing is disgustingly sexist. The Tempest is bollocks. What else is bollocks?
Why is The Tempest bollocks? It's fantastic.
Bollocks.
Opening ceremony, Olympics with Caliban's speech, be not afeared. This isle is filled with strange noises, which give delight. Oh, come on, mate. It's great stuff. Dark 4x4, thank you very much for the super chat there, mate. That is very kind of you. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune or take arms against a sea of troubles. That's from Hamlet.
That's Hamlet. Hamlet was all right, but that line was not, because it was like terrible. It's like mixed metaphors. And how do you take arms against a sea of troubles?
It's a metaphor, Phil.
Exactly.
It's a metaphor.
It's a mixed metaphor.
No, it's not. To live or not to live. Like,
that was
go
good.
on in this torment that is his life, where his uncle's murdered his dad and has married his mum, and it's all gone to shit.
That's the
and there's a
good
girl
part
who
of Hamlet.
fancies him, but he doesn't realise, and then their dad died. Well, he accidentally kills their dad, and that didn't help.
Good. That's the good part of Hamlet. It actually poses a genuine moral dilemma. There are very few. Lots of people talk about moral dilemmas that are actually just no. It's obvious what you're supposed to do. That was a genuine moral dilemma, so that was quite good, and everyone died. Almost everyone died.
Everyone died, so that was good. Phil's the one at the end of Reservoir Dogs applauding. Well done, everyone's dead.
It was.
Bravo.
We got though, Tarantino. Lots of people do die in Tarantino films. Like you don't get many survivors.
There were no survivors from that film. Andrew Ray, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. The quality of debate is not strained between Phil and Graham. It neither giveth nor taketh. Very good. I like that, Andrew. And Sean, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Borderline Shakespeare was definitely overrated. Borderline Shakespeare? What was borderline Shakespeare? I don't know, but thanks anyway, John. And Ivan, very kind of you. Thank you very much for the £20 super chat. A long time ago now, but I remember a lot of maths being pointless to function in everyday life, in particular algebra and equations. Why? Instead, there should be much more focus on budgeting and personal finances. There you go. Stick that in your big physics pipe and smoke it.
They are. I use them all the time. They're incredibly important. I agree. We should also learn budgeting.
I think
but
maths
not
is
in
overrated.
Maths. No,
I don't. I'm joking. But
wouldn't even be able to do this stream without maths. So, but we should do budgeting and finances, but that should not be in maths. It's not maths. The actual maths is dead easy, right? It should be done in separate lessons on like how to actually live. We should have living lessons. How you actually survive outside of these school gates, my lad and lass.
But if you're doing foundation level GCSE maths now, you there is algebra in there, but it's a smaller proportion than if you're doing it at the higher level.
Algebra.
Sorry?
You need algebra.
Not in everyday life, you don't.
Yeah, you do. It helps. Like one of those things about maths, you appreciate it once you can do it, because then you start to use it. You use it quite a lot. Just the way it trains your brain, because what happens is when you learn certain techniques in maths, because maths isn't a knowledge-based subject, it's a skills-based subject. When you learn skills, you physically change your body. So when you learn maths and mathematical techniques, it physically creates synapses in your brain which help you with other problem-solving skills. You see, it's like playing music. Learning to play music develops parts of the brain which also then, like being able to play a violin ain't going to help you in a lot of life situations, but actually developing that part of the brain does. It helps problem solving.
This is true. And also going to a Shakespeare play. Anyway, or listening to Beatles record. Right, Phil, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And thank you watching this for joining us. Thank you for all the chat. Thanks for the super chats. Very kind of you. Please give us a like on the way out. Phil will be back tomorrow with your live stream at 7 o'clock, is it, tomorrow?
It's entitled, Why is Nigel Farage a Fanny?
Because it just is. So please check that out. And in the meantime, I'll be back at 9:30 this evening with the politics, the Friday night social. So please join us for that. Should be laughs and bants for all. And until then, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give us a like. And until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.